TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Stallion Malibu Moon, AP Indy's leading son, 5 years running.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup alongside Joel Cunningham. I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, today we're going to talk about 2-year-olds, but before we do, we need to talk about the older horse division because, quite frankly, it just got a whole lot easier. Palace Malice announces today they're going to retire the colt. Joel, he could have raced on as a 5-year-old, but they decided, it's best for the colt. Go ahead, retire him, put him in the stud barn. When you've run like he has, you're a classic winner. You've run like he did this year. I mean, that stud barn just starts calling.
Yeah, absolutely. And come back to win the Met Mile the way he did. I mean, just an exciting early start of the year. And we thought he was going to be the definite front runner for the horse of the year. And even him getting beaten at Whitney, to me, I was willing to throw that race out. But now it makes sense with the injury and the fact that he cannot come, go for that horse of the year honors for the rest of the year. With only the grade 1 win, the Met Mile, I think the voters are going to be looking for another horse, a horse like Sheer Belief. Maybe Will Take Charge gets back in the conversation, but I think that definitely hurts him now, only being a grade 1 winner one time this year in terms of being horse of the year.
Well, real quick, before we leave the older horse division, we got to talk about, It's My Lucky Day. A horse who was injured, they gave him time off, brought him back. Joel, he's really having a sneaky good year. He won, I think, 3 listed stakes and then came back and did what he did here in the grade 1. I mean, that horse seems like he's doing really well right now.
Yeah, very headsy move by Eddie Plaza to put blinkers on this colt. I mean, a lot of times that doesn't work out. He knew his horse. First time blinkers on that type of stage, for him to pull it off, I was very impressed with the way he was able to focus down the lane, lay close. I thought it was a great ride. Tackle Moreno, we talked about that. It was going to be such a key to the race.
Yep.
When is he going to tackle Moreno? And he was able to do that on the turn, sustain that drive all the way to the wire. Speed was still holding at Saratoga, and they were the quality of the race. So he gets by Moreno, proves best, sort of turns the tables from the Whitney. And now we're looking at a colt, It's My Lucky Day, who all of a sudden gets into that Breeders' Cup Classic picture. He was a horse that, if you'd have told me a month ago, I'd have thought maybe he was more of a Breeders' Cup Mile candidate. He still isn't Breeders' Cup nominated, but they are going to nominate, and they are going to point for the Classic. Be interested to see what prep they take.
All right, well, this show is really exciting because this is the first time we really look at the 2-year-olds, the future stars of tomorrow. Well, it's time right now for them to shine, and we saw some really good racing over the weekend. Let's talk about the Mar Futurity real quick. It was run on Wednesday, closing day of Del Mar, and Joel, we saw a really good horse in there called American Pharoah. Tell me about him a little bit.
Yeah, and he was a maiden, John, a big hype horse. I heard a lot of buzz on this horse going into his debut, but he came to a stop in his debut, and they blamed it on the fact that he was responding to the crowd noise and was a little immature. They put blinkers on him, put cotton in his ears. He went to the lead and just ran off, showed that great talent. We'll show it right now on the Twin Spires TV race replay. We'll take a look at the stretch run here, and he's already clear here. You see him there on the fence. He swaps leads and just powers away from this group. An ultra awesome, it's just a great performance, John. Huge Brisnet number in here. He starts to move to now the front of the 2-year-old division. However, does he have distance limitations? He's out of a Yankee Gentleman mare. He sure looks like a one-turn horse to me, but he's by Pioneer of the Nile.
Yeah.
Certainly there's some stamina there. Be interested to see how far this colt wants to go going forward.
All right, well, let's take a look at the TCI top 5 right now for Juvenile Colts, and let's see, if he made the list here in the top 5. It's always very interesting for me to see which 2-year-olds. JC, I see right off the bat, no American Pharoah in there, and to be honest, I got a few other questions for you, starting with the number 5 horse here, Blofeld.
My favorite show of the year for the Breeders' Cup division is following the 2-year-olds because, we're Triple Crown guys at heart, so certainly we want to see, tomorrow's 3-year-olds and who is going to be, the horses that really are 2-turn quality colts. And so really that's what comprises my list, John. Horses that to me have the pedigree, have the action and the quality to be top Breeders' Cup juvenile horses, around 2 turns going a mile and a 16th. And we haven't seen these horses run 2 turns yet, so it's all a projection. Blofeld, nice moving colt, came out of a key maiden race at Saratoga by Quality Road, the second dance by Pleasant Colony. To me, if you pair that stamina on the female side with his action, he looks like a colt that's only going to get better as the distances go on. Certainly, mile and a 16th is going to be in his wheelhouse. And the fact that he came out of the race, so he ran down Signature Cat. El Kabir, the 3rd place runner in there, came back and was very impressive in a maiden race at Saratoga. So I think Blofeld belongs in the top 5.
All right, and then I think there might be an error here from our graphics guy. I see you got Competitive Edge next, and I spent it in number 2. I don't know. Did you miss the hopeful? I thought Competitive Edge was pretty impressive.
No error from Jason, the camera guy there. That might be prove to be an error on my part. But for me, competitive edge, while he may be the best one-turn colt, you know, when I look at that action, he's so efficient, but he's so quick too, John. I really question, now you would think Super Saver, a Cape Town mare, just looking at Siren Broodmare Sire, that he's going to handle 2 turns. That's what he's bred to do. But I look at him as an individual, and I really question his ability to be a true 2-turn horse, certainly a true classic horse next year. I do think he's the best 2-year-old right now, but I'm going to put him in that 4 spot. Obviously, the big Brisnet that number last time out in the Hopeful, he was best there with that 94. To me, the big question is going to be when he gets around 2 turns.
All right, I see here Lord Nelson in at number 3. Tell me a little bit about him.
Bob Baffert's 2-year-old. You know, we talked about American Pharoah. American Pharoah might be as fast as 1 turn. I think Lord Nelson has the best upside going 2 turns. Son of Pulpit, a lot of stamina in the female family. They're pointing him to the Forerunner Stakes, which obviously is the Grade 1 prep there locally at Santa Anita. If he runs well there, watch out. He'll be the local horse, in my opinion, that has the ability to go 2 turns for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
All right, so you got I Spent It in here at number 2. You know, this is the horse. He was very impressive coming into the Hopeful. I'll tell you, though, watching him before the race, he didn't look like the same horse to me before, you know, I think it was the Saratoga Special. He didn't look the same. He was a little bit washing out. He didn't want to go in the gate. It was a little, I don't know, he seemed a little bothered that day.
I mean, the 99 Brisnet number in the Saratoga Special going 7/8, ultra impressive. Beat a good group that day. However, him coming back, you know, like you said, I think maybe he was telling us something before. He didn't look nearly as good as Competitive Edge, and I don't think he wants to sprint with Competitive Edge, but he still acquitted himself well. You know, to be the runner-up in there, have the in-between trip that he had and still run onto the wire. To me, he looks like the one with 2-turn potential. You look at his pedigree and just look at his action. He looks like a horse that is going to love 2 turns.
All right, tell me about this colt here you got in at number 1. I know he's by Giants Causeway. He's got the right connections. You got him in here number 1.
Yeah, Carpe Diem. I'm taking a little bit of a reach, but I think Pletcher saved his best 2-year-old to the end of the meet. In terms of the 2-year-old, I think has real classic potential, John. They paid $1.6 million for him. He has 2 turns written all over him, physically and by his pedigree. And the fact that he was good enough to break from the 1 hole, you know, repel a challenge, you know, around the far turn from, you know, a pretty good field of maidens in there, and kick on going 5.5 and win going away like he did. I just love the upside in this colt. I think he's going to be a player. Be interested to see what they do now. Will they point for the Champagne, keep him on the Breeders' Cup Trail, or because he's a late comer, will they instead point for races maybe like the Remsen later on?
All right, well, now it's time to move to some races that we have this weekend. These are win-and-ins, JC, and, you know, we're moving from the races there in Naira in California. Now we're looking in at Churchill. You know, we have the Iroquois, and then we also have the Pocahontas. Let's talk about the Iroquois first. You know, it's funny, you have 2 Super Savers there in your top 5. Well, there's another Super Saver running this weekend, #Bourbon, that a lot of people are pretty high on.
Yeah, and he draws a tough post in here. He draws the rail. I think he's a pretty good colt. I mean, won the Mountaineer Juvenile, was a maiden last time out, came to that key maiden race where Mr. Z beat him first time out at Churchill, so he has a run over the track, and certainly him and Mr. Z going to battle it out here again. What's interesting is, you know, you look at the female family, you know, Super Saver on top. He looks like a colt that probably has a lot better chance of getting 2 turns than Competitive Edge, in my opinion. We'll have to see how he can break from the rail and acquit himself going first time around 2 turns, and I think the same thing about Mr. Z.
Yeah, number 2 there. We've talked with Justin Zayat, you know, earlier in the week. They're real high on this colt's chances here. Like you said, they know he likes Churchill. They're feeling pretty confident going into that race.
Yeah, it's Malibu Moon out of a Stormcat mare. You know, this horse has loved 1 turn so far. Be interested to see. Now, when he gets around 2 turns, can he be as effective? Can he have that same punch in the stretch? You know, to me, he's an in-betweener when I look at his pedigree.
All right, now let's go all the way to the far outside in the 8 hole. We have a pretty talented colt in Bold Conquest. You seem to really like him.
Well, he's my pick in the race because he's by Curlin. I have a distorted humor mare, so stamina on top and bottom. Good enough to sprint, though, at Saratoga. I mean, he came out of some good maiden races there, was able to win in his second start, ran well in his first start. So now he draws outside, gets to pick his outside trip stalking in here. I think he's going to get 2 turns, so I have him on top.
All right, let's move now then to the Pocahontas, and let's talk fillies just for a minute because there's some good horses in here. But Joel, the pedigree in this race here, you have to say, Take Charge Brandy with everything that's going on with Will Take Charge. You know, this is a really hot pedigree, and we know Lucas is pretty high on this filly.
Lovely filly, and I think she lays over this field around 2 turns. I have no doubt in my mind she loves Churchill. She's going to handle 2 turns. I love her in this race from a quality standpoint. I think she lays over this field. My question is, last time out, she didn't even want to load in the gate, looked terrible for the race, and ran terrible. You know, has she had a little too much, been asked a little too much too early? You know, you can grind on these young fillies, John, and certainly
Yeah.
we don't know, you know, what kind of performance we're going to get out of her. I'd be hesitant to bet her, but I'm very anxious to see if she can turn it around, run better in her first out of round 2 turns this weekend.
Well, it's going to be exciting, man. These 2-year-olds, like you said, I mean, we really like to follow the Triple Crown. Looking at these colts and looking at the top 5 is going to be an exciting year, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We'll recap these 2-year-old races and reveal another top 5.